Hi there, I'm Sophia Hernandez, and today we are talking to the It Girl. If you haven't followed her already, you definitely will. Today we're speaking to Alexa Abril. Hey Alexa, how are you?
Good. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited.
Thank you for being here. No, we're excited to have you. Can you tell people who don't know who you are a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. So I'm 29 years old, born and raised in Miami. My parents are Cuban. And yeah, I grew up in Miami and I grew up dancing and surrounded by fashion my entire life. My dad was in retail. So my two passions are definitely dance and retail and fashion.
That's how I saw. I feel like I think we have mutual friends of friends, but how I came upon you was your fashion. Like I was like, oh my God, this girl, she kills it in every single post, in every single fashion post. Can you tell me a little bit about what inspired this blog? Kind of what made you want to be like, all right, let's start this?
Yeah, so I don't consider myself exactly like a blogger. I kind of fell into this industry recently, super recent. So I don't know if you saw, but I got married February 2020. So it was literally right before this pandemic started. We like slid right in and got married. It was the last weekend of February and we got married in Cartagena, Colombia. And then right after we left on our honeymoon to South Africa. And during my wedding weekend and during South Africa, I always had my like profile on public, my Instagram account on public. And I gained like a big jump in followers and it was like so sudden. And I was like, this is so weird, whatever. But right when I got back from our honeymoon, I think we got back like on March 17th. And that was the day that everything like shut down in Miami. So we got so lucky with the timing, but we got back and we were kind of like, now what? We were in lockdown. And so I feel like during that time, everyone was kind of like on social media more. So, I started posting a little bit more than usual. I was showing what I was cooking or my workouts. And then I started noticing people like asking me a lot of questions. So people were asking me questions about my wedding, about South Africa, but then also about like what I was doing like currently, which was like my workouts and stuff. So I was looking for entertainment and people were looking for entertainment as well. And honestly, I kind of fell into it. I was like, wow, I gained so many followers. And then these questions started rolling in and it kind of just snowballed into what it is now. And it's been quite the ride, honestly. I'm so excited about it. And I also knew like I was ready to like launch a business of my own. So I was like, this is a great platform to have. So let's roll with this and see how it goes, So I don't fully consider myself like a blogger because a blogger is someone that really intensely like blogs, writes constantly. And I don't do that, that's not what fulfills me really, but it's more so like providing tips and tricks and answering questions and responding to people on DM. That fulfills me.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe is like what sets you apart? Like, do you think that being that it's not the typical like, you maybe go out and plan these things more like how a blogger would, that it's maybe more organic and more, like, because I do feel that when I look at yourself, I'm talking to a friend, is that kind of what you think makes it different?
Yeah, I think since I fell into it so organically that I try to stick to that, which, I'm showing what I do on my daily, everyday life, and I try to be as authentic as possible, the good and the bad, I try to show that. So I'm not blogging per se and have everything like super planned out and stuff. That's just not for me. So yeah, I guess more of like an influencer in the sense that I answer questions and I give my tips and tricks and stuff and people seem to enjoy it. So.
And even that, the fact that, people obviously reciprocate so well to it. And whether it be because of the fashion posts, because they see I know you do like the Friday night date night, you have like your little seances that are adorable.
Yeah, people are really loving my like Friday night segment.
I love it. I think, because it gives you ideas on like date night places that maybe you wouldn't consider, you've never tried.
Yeah, I've always been a huge foodie, so I get to share that with everyone, which is fun. And also just remind each other, it's so important to like continue dating, even if you're married and you have kids, romanticize each other a little bit,
How has that been like too, having a significant other? And I know he's in some posts, not all posts, being able to, is he the man behind the camera that helps with planning? Is he involved?
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, he's always taking my pictures. Jimmy's a lot more private than I am. So getting him in front of the camera is a little bit of a mission. But, when he is in front of the camera and everyone was like loving it, he's like, ooh, did they like it? He's like, yeah, enjoys that people like seeing him in front of the camera, He's definitely the man behind all the pictures, or most of the pictures at least. And yeah, I think at the beginning it was like kind of annoying, and like, he was like, oh, another picture, or like the camera has to eat before I do, And now he's like, get a picture. Why aren't you getting a picture of that? I'm like, oh, okay, relax.
Yeah. His eyes probably now trained.
Yeah, he totally like changed it a complete 180. He's like, no, you should be photographing that. Are you gonna video that? Get this. I'm like, oh, okay.
I love that. And for you, what has it kind of been like? Because I think way back when I like dabbled with blogging, and kind of the same thing. Like, it wasn't necessarily anything that I ever wanted to do, and it kind of just happened organically for a little bit. And then I was like, I learned it wasn't for me, because it was a lot of work and trying to come up with content and things like that. How has that been like for you to know either what posts you want to post about, or how to even create things and do different things that you haven't done before?
Yeah, honestly, it's a lot of work. And I never realized, and I give major props to girls that have been doing this for years now. I never realized how much work actually goes into this, and like planning the feed out and working with brands and making sure that they're fully content with, the images that you're creating or the content that you're creating. It's a lot of work. And I don't think people fully grasp how much work actually goes into it. But also it's like, it's not the most ideal situation to be out somewhere and have to be constantly thinking about like, okay, how's the lighting? Am I able to get a photograph? Okay, I need to shoot this. Oh, but does it match with the feed? And hold on, like I need to post stories, and I need to post it in the moment, because that's what people want to see. They want to see it like live, like they don't want to see this tomorrow. They want to see it right now. So it's a lot of pressure to post, and it's a lot of pressure to get good content and, immediate gratification. And so yeah, it is a lot, and I do struggle with that. But I also have to give a lot of props to my friend Olivia. Hello, Olivia Blog. She has helped me from the beginning. Like, she gives me so many tips and tricks, and she has been godsent. Seriously, like I have gotten so many tips and tricks from her from the very beginning, and she has helped me kind of like, use this app for planning, and like just like with everything really.
And that's awesome to have somebody too to kind of fall back on, because I think when you're going into it blind, it can be overwhelming.
Oh my God, yeah.
What are some of the struggles that you've found along the way, and maybe some of the areas where you found successes or that you've really enjoyed throughout this process? And obviously it's a process that's still continuing because the blog's still going on, but highs and lows.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think now the events are starting to happen again, which is pretty fun. Going to the events and just like capturing what's happening. That is definitely one of the highs. Like, it's so much fun to just, whatever the event is, like the Jonathan Simkai event that I was at recently, that was so cool to be like surrounded by a bunch of people in your industry, but also like my two worlds collided, and like it was fashion, and I got to see like a runway show basically. So that was really cool. That's definitely one of the highs. The lows is really just like the struggle to like meet deadlines and create content that satisfies brands, and that pressure. And I feel like I've learned along the way that I definitely prefer creating content for myself rather than for others. It's more fulfilling for me to, style pieces that I have myself, or that I'm very picky with the brands that I choose to work with for that reason, because, and it kind of ties into like me being authentically me. Like, I don't want to promote something that I would never wear or I would never purchase myself. So, I mean, I get so many emails that I just ignore, and it's because I want to work with brands that I want to promote and that I want to create content for,
Yeah.
So that's definitely something that's super important to me.
And as far as even that, because I know that that's a difficult process too, especially for somebody who might be just starting off in the blogging industry, being able to decipher, number one, what are the brands to work with, what are like kind of scams, and then also like knowing your own worth as a newbie in the business, how much your rate is or what you need in order to feel like you've fulfilled your side of the bargain.
Yeah, I mean, at the beginning, it was a lot of gifting, and that kind of quickly evolved. You know, again, with my influencer friends, they sort of guided me through that. And they kind of saw like my engagement on Instagram, and they were like, no, girl, like you need to be charging already. And, you know, so that's been a great help. But yeah, again, even with gifting, like I'm not going to just promote anything. So I just, honestly, it's so much time and effort to promote something and to create content for something that I don't believe in, that to me, it's just not worth it. So that's why I'm so picky about, you know, who I choose to work with. But I think it like ends up benefiting me in the end because, you know, I like to build that trust with my audience and, you know, make sure that they believe in what I'm saying and what I'm purchasing and stuff. So
for sure. And for somebody who might be in what your shoes, I mean, and for you, it happened maybe more organically than for other people who might be seeking it out, right? But as far as that beginning process, you're putting yourself out there, you know, kind of for the whole world to see, both good and for bad, advice that you'd give somebody in that process and just being, knowing what it was like for you.
Yeah, I think something that I even still struggle with and I want to be better at is putting yourself out there and reaching out to the brands that you do want to work with. So if there's brands that, you know, you find yourself continuously purchasing from, or, you know, like believing in that brand, reach out to them and be like, I love your brand and this is what I do. I love creating content, or, you know, like I have a strong audience on my Instagram account and I fully believe in your product. Please let me promote it. Like, can we work together? And that's something that I'm not great at. I'm terrible at reaching out to brands, but I need to be better about it. But yeah, I think the best advice is probably that one, to not be afraid to go out to a brand and like reach out to a brand, because you never know the response that you're going to get back.
For sure.
So, and I do feel like I got a little lucky in the timing of how I kind of fell into this, because we were in quarantine. Everyone was looking to kind of like for more entertainment. So, and it wasn't just like, just my audience. It was also like brands were looking to send stuff out to influencers and we're looking to collab more. So I kind of got lucky in that sense. But yeah, just reaching out to brands that you fully believe in and that and letting them know that and showing them examples of your work. And this is what I can do for you. You know, even creating something for them that is free at the moment, you know, look, this is what I can do. Use it, please. But I would love to create a future partnership.
Yeah, for sure. And I know you've had an exciting new chapter kind of open up within the last week and a half?
Literally.
Can you tell the viewers a little bit about that? Because you're so much more, although your blog is a big thing, you're so much more than that. So tell people about that a little bit.
Yeah, honestly, and I wish I had more time for like my blog and influencing and all that, but this side kind of takes over and it's my passion. So where do I even start? So like I mentioned earlier, my dad started this Group LX. So it's this company and it's got 3 different concepts: Studio LX, Blush, and Market. And these are 3 women's clothing boutiques located here in Miami, Florida. And he opened first with Studio LX. And that one he opened when I was 2 years old back in 1994. And so I quite literally grew up at that store. Like I have so many memories of just like sitting there watching the women try on these like gorgeous like dresses and just dreaming of the day that I'd actually fit into the clothing, you know?
I love that.
So yeah, I've definitely always been super like fashion inclined. And so after Studio Lex came Blush, which I'm sure a lot of the audience is familiar with. And that one's a little more like fast fashion,
yes,
super fun and young.
I remember high school, I would like, the big thing was like, or not even high school, maybe middle school, you know, was like Blush. Yeah. Like everyone wanted to go and shop at Blush.
Yeah, definitely. And so Blush has kind of evolved since then, and it's a little bit of an older audience now. And it's young, it's fun, it's vibrant, but you know, it's inexpensive and it's easy to just pop in and buy something to wear for that night, you know? And it's super like trendy it girl. So back in 2011, my father passed away from cancer. And so at that point he had two business partners, one of which was actually his first employee at Studio Lex, and her brother, so I basically like, they're like my aunt and uncle. Like I grew up with them, like I've known them for ages. So when my father passed away, them two took over the company. And actually I feel like this is something that I should address, because it's something that I get asked about so often. And it's something that, if not worded correctly, it kind of bugs me and it bothers me when people ask. I hope I don't cry because I get really emotional.
Oh, you're good. Oh my God.
My dad.
Yeah, of course.
But yeah, so a lot of people ask me, and I think it's like a common misconception, like, oh, but you know, like it was passed down to you, you know, like your father passed away, it was passed down. And I'm like, no, you know, like, yeah, maybe in movies that's what happens. And maybe that's the case for some people. And, you know, like, but when a parent passes away, that's not always the case. I was 19, my brother and sister were 10 and 12. Like a company of that magnitude wasn't going to be just passed down to children of that age, you know? And then especially with business partners in the mix, which those business partners came in to the picture a few years after he grew Studio Lex. He wanted to expand into like Blush.
Right.
So, I mean, what business partners want to be partners with a 10, 12, and 19-year-old, you know? So, you know, stuff was put in place in case anyone passed away. So my dad's business partners took over the company, and right around the time that I graduated, they came up with, they wanted to open a new concept. Okay. And that's kind of how Market evolved. With my help, I was like, oh my God, you know, there's this store in LA that I'm obsessed with, and like it's just basics, and like I think we can run with this. And it kind of just like Market kind of developed from there. And I was like, I went on the first buying trip, and I remember being just like so excited, like, okay, it's gonna be all neutrals, basics, like, you know, stacks of jeans, stacks of t-shirts, and it's gonna be great. And when Market opened, it felt like my baby, because I was there from the beginning for Market, you know? Right. So I came into the company fully. I mean, you know, growing up, I worked at the store, and every summer, and like when I was little, answering the phone, Studio Lex, this is Alexa. Like that was like the highlight of my day, right? But I worked full time after I graduated college at Market as the buyer, as just an employee, a sales girl. And then that kind of evolved to, then I became the manager of that first location, which was in South Miami. And then we started opening more Market locations. And then I became the manager, the area manager of all the locations, overseeing it all. And then I became head buyer. And like, so Market felt like my baby. And then when was it? It was recent that, I think it was back in October, the manager of Studio Lex, who had been with the company for years, she actually left to work for her husband for his growing business. And so my dad's business partners were like, there's an opportunity. Do you want to go into managing Studio Lex? And I was like, I was so distraught because Market felt like mine, you know, and I felt like people so heavily associated Market to me. But anyway, I made the switch to Studio Lex, which I absolutely loved being there. And it's so cool to see people, you know, my dad passed away in 2011. And to this day, I have people that come in quite literally like 3 times a week. Someone says something about Alex, about my father. And so it's so special to me that I'm there, and that was his baby. And so now I get to kind of like nourish his baby. But recently, I kind of felt like I needed more. Like I wasn't fully fulfilled. And I felt like I'm not going to be fulfilled in life until I am an owner of something. And so that conversation started happening, and well, now here we are, and I am officially an owner of Group Alex, and I am so excited about it, and all feels right in the world. And I'm just so happy to have it like in the family. And I think another thing to like kind of touch on is I think my dad would be so happy to know that it's staying in the family and that I'm, you know, continuing his legacy. But more importantly, like I want people to know that whether my dad was in the picture or not, like I grew up in fashion. Like this is one of my passions. Like this is something that I needed to do for myself too. And I needed to do it for myself, but I'm also so happy that I get to like tie him into it and, you know, and keep his like legacy and memory alive and just continue to build something that he started. But this is something that I wanted to do for myself. And
I feel like
so
coming to that, you know, full circle moment, right?
Yes.
Because it probably took a lot to either, number one, understand that that's what you wanted, but to even get to that point, to be able to be there now and like kind of looking back, like let's say 5 years, you know, like something that maybe you could have told yourself 5 years ago, you know, what would you tell yourself?
Something that I could tell myself. Wow.
Knowing where you are now, you know?
Yeah.
It's still so much ahead of you, but you know how much you've been able to do.
Just to be patient. And like when the timing is right, it's going to happen and everything's going to fall into place. I feel like 5-10 years ago, I was just so like eager and like I kept feeling like I needed to rush life and I needed to rush everything. And, you know, I wanted like instant gratification and I wanted, you know, everything to happen like when I was young and let's go, you know? And I think the timing of everything in my life has just happened the way that it's supposed to happen. And yeah, it's so nice to see that. And I feel so like comforted by that.
And for people too, I think they see you, you know, and they know that you again are that it presence in the fashion world. Because I really do think you are like, you are not only a stylish person, but you know, encompass different outfits. Like you're not really just one style. You kind of, I think, apply to a broad audience of people who just like fashion in general, you know, and people who maybe want to make their mark some way, somehow in the fashion world, which is a very saturated world. Any piece of advice for them?
Ooh, wow, that's a tough one too. I don't know. I guess just not to like fully conform to the trends and kind of stay true to like what you like and, you know, the fashion that you believe in. I mean, there's some trends that have happened that I'm like, not jumping on this one, you know, like
for sure.
Right? Yeah. And I feel like that happens a lot in my like blogger influencer industry that, you know, they're like, oh, this is in style. Like I need to post wearing this or I need to, yeah, but like, maybe that's not what you like and what you believe in. So like, I don't know, that's kind of weird to just like throw it in there. Right. But yeah, the fashion industry is pretty saturated and I think it is very difficult to like make your mark. I don't think I've quite figured that out yet myself. But yeah, I think just staying true to like your fashion and, you know, I don't think you need to like conform to what's out there and what's trending and stuff.
Yeah. And as far as for you, again, like we've touched upon, I think, you know, you've kind of grown a long way from that girl who graduated UCLA just kind of with an idea in her head to kind of see it obviously come to full fruition to now kind of have your own hand in the puzzle piece of what your father once created. If there's any piece of advice that you kind of live by, words that you know, kind of get you through those hard days where you're like, you know what, I don't want to make a post today, or like, you know what, I don't want to show up to studio like today.
Honestly, lately, one of my mottos is like, I guess it's not a motto, but I'm like, you know what, if there's something that I don't want to do, I'm not going to do it. You know, like, why? Because someone says that I should, or like, to quedar bien. Like, no, if it's not something that I truly feel like doing or feel like attending, why do I have to do it? You know? So that's one thing. Like, that's like a new thing. I feel like last week I was like, no, I'm not going to do this. So I've been trying to stick to that.
And that's a good one. That's a good one. It's important to know when to put your foot down, you know?
Right? Let's see. Besides that, I don't know, just taking day by day. I get wrapped up often in thinking like so far ahead and like trying to plan so far in ahead, and like I forget to like live each day, you know? So actually, and now that I'm saying this out loud, I'm literally my father's child, because one of like he's known for like one of these quotes was basically like, tomorrow's happiness will never come if you can't appreciate today. And I think that's so like true. Like take each day by day and just enjoy the moment. And that's something that I try to do instead of getting like wrapped up in like, oh, what's happening tomorrow? What's happening next week? Like, no, what's happening today and right now? And like, yeah.
I love that. That's a great, I think that's the first time I've heard that quote, and it's a great one. That's a good words to live by. Alexa, thank you so much for being here on the Spotlight.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, and if you guys want to catch any other episode of the Spotlight, we will have them air every single Thursday. So we'll see you here back next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.